Welcome to Travel, Eat, and Learn. I'm Susan Sam Shockley.
And I'm Patrick Barney, and I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving weekend. I'm sure on Thursday you stuffed yourself. On Friday you walked it off at Black Friday, and today your little fingers have done the walking through Cyber Monday. So just relax, watch our show, maybe learn something, and maybe digest a few things. Sam, I think our show, our title, even though you have trouble saying it, says everything. Travel, because we believe the world is a book and the person who doesn't travel only reads one page.
Eat. The best way to experience a city, state, or country is to settle down and eat with the locals.
And learn. We want you to have fun, but learn from that encounter that you have and the various customs you will experience throughout the world.
Today's show is being brought to you by For More Travel,
where you dream it and they make it happen.
Not they, me.
Sometimes. I help.
I help.
Okay, how about some travel news? Well, we thought we'd pick out a few things, places to go and so forth. One of the islands people don't talk about much when they talk about Hawaii is Kona. And Kona is known for great snorkeling. And you can not only swim with the dolphins and see sharks if you swim real fast, but you can also see a lot of sea turtles. So that's a place that should be on your list. If you're going to Hawaii, make sure you hit Kona. And Sam, I'm a foodie. You know I'm a foodie, right? Okay. One of the greatest foodie events happening is this January in Grand Cayman. It's going to be at the Ritz-Carlton. They're going to have 5 or 6 international chefs there, and it's January 12th to the 15th, and there are like 40 events, all kinds of foods, and you can get a ticket that gives you 4 nights at the Ritz-Carlton, tickets to the major events, and 3 or 4 different meals. What more could you want but foodies in the Caribbean?
Can I interject?
Please interject.
Santiago de Cuba is in the news right now because Fidel Castro is going to be laid to rest there. But it's got an awful lot of news on Cuba, and you'll see the Fathom ship going by with the ship. On the side of the ship is a beautiful artistic thing. So you'll recognize it, and you've got to get to Cuba before they close it down. There's possibility that Trump is going to renegotiate the deal, and so you better get there before Marriott and McDonald's take it over, or Trump has his way with them.
Well, I don't think you can say that. I don't think you can say what Trump is going to do. He wants a better deal. He wants more freedom for the Cuban people.
I understand that.
Now,
I'm just trying to sell a trip to Cuba.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, I don't think you have to. Well, you can rush if you want to do it this year, but what I'm saying is, I think it's not going to be any major changes in Cuba. It's opened the door now. The airlines are flying there. And hotels are starting to invest. Okay, and I can see in Trump's mind, and not that I'm telling him what to do, but right now the only new cars in Cuba are from China. You got to have him saying that there's going to be a couple Fords and General Motors cars there.
We need you to be the Secretary of State.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. I'm as fat as what's-my-call used to be, but not as sharp. Okay.
They don't do it on your looks.
Really? All right. How about now? Now that we did the political thing, okay, how about we do the good thing? Time for a little
Ice Cube jazz?
Good one. I was thinking of Cuban jazz. Well, you know that we always tell you at the end of a show that we are going somewhere for happy hour, our happy hour hunts. And we said last time that we were going to go to the Palm Restaurant at Caesar's Palace because we enjoyed the Palm Restaurant so much back east where we used to go to the one in Washington, D.C. And if you go to their website, their national website, they have what they call for happy hour Prime Bites. Now, that was my main reason for going there, is to see what these prime bites were like, and I thought it was excellent idea. However, Sam, we were a little disappointed.
Yep. Back in Washington, they had all the politicians and all the administration people up on the walls and down in the seats. And it was always fun to go there. But at the Palm, at Caesar's Palace, they have just redecorated, so they have like 3 pictures on the wall. And as we understand it, you can pay to have those pictures put up on the wall. So there are a bunch of people you don't know who they are.
That they just simply paid to put up there. You know, when the first Palm opened up in New York, it was right around the corner from a lot of the cartoon people. So a lot of the original things on it were cartoon characters by the original artist. Then they move further down, and then you start having celebrities do their thing. And in Washington, D.C., of course, they were all politicians.
Well, we sat at the bar, and we had lobster bisque. Oh, my God, that was incredible. We've been searching for a lobster bisque like we had in Scottsdale, Arizona, 30 years ago. And this is fabulously creamy and pink, and we loved it. You had some wonderful shrimp.
I had some jumbo shrimp, which not only the shrimp were incredible and large, but what I liked, they gave you their typical hot cocktail sauce, but they gave you extra horseradish if you wanted to spice it up even more, and I thought that was a real advantage.
And Patrick makes very good cocktail sauce. However, now, they had a Caesar salad. You could get a better Caesar salad at Denny's. I do not recommend it.
Yeah, their Caesar salad definitely tasted like it was like done weeks ago out of a can. I mean, I'm sorry, the sauce was not very good at all.
And the Sun City Kiss, which I'm sure Patrick's going to talk about, anything you put Chambord in tastes like Chambord.
So you didn't like it?
It was okay.
I drank that sucker down immediately. I didn't mind it at all. A little bit of cherry juice and a few other things. Yeah, actually, the bartender was very nice. His name is Victor, and I'm going to show you a little video. Victor made what they call the Sin City Kiss, and that was excellent. And also, I don't want to be too harsh on the Palm. They still have a great reputation and have some of the best steaks in town. But in the meantime,
I want to make sure that. Go.
Hi, I'm Victor. I work at the Las Vegas Palm Steakhouse, and I'm going to be making you the Sin City Kiss. A little double cross vodka. Pomegranate liqueur. Agave nectar.
Like weekend at Bernie, I'm just gonna be like sitting there.
Grand Marnier.
Be like, oh, hey, look at that loser. Right?
You shake it all up.
Pretty much. I mean, that's what it's like. I've done it both ways, and like, you fill a day, you get home at midnight, top it off with red eye,
Or Italian Prosecco. You serve it with Luxardo cherry.
No, I know. See, that's the thing.
Enjoy.
I used to be the short.
see, I think the little shot of Prosecco at the end was nice because it gave it that little bubbly stuff. I love Prosecco. I fell in love with that in Italy, and I'll have that any day over champagne as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
No comment?
No.
Anyway, thank you, Victor. It was very nice, and that drink was very refreshing. Help us wash down that Caesar salad. All right. Sam, now we're going to go to our next one, which is those great go-to destinations. Oh, gosh. Oh, we're back already. Gee, I forgot that bumper was a really tiny bumper. Okay. What we're trying to do is, you know, a lot of people are hesitant to go to Europe these days because of all the trouble. Also, the airline fares are not the best in the world right now for Europe, especially if you want to go in the summertime. So what we tried to do, and we found seven, see that? Seven 7 cities around America that gives you that European flair or feeling, and that's what we're going to talk about here. The first one is, Sam, I can never pronounce this. Solvang, California. Okay, now this city is settled by the Dutch. Why? I don't know. But they dance a lot, and they have architecture going back to the 17th and 18th century both. So it's in Santa Barbara. A lot of dancing, and they're right in the middle of that new wine country. So if you want to get a little feel for Europe and a little bit of wine, that's the place to go. Second one I came up with, Sam, what else but Boston? As an Irishman, that's where we ended up, you know, because we missed New York. Okay, so we ended up in Boston. And the best place to see turn of the century, meaning the 17th century, architecture in Boston is Beacon Hill. Beacon Hill is an area that makes you think like you're in London with Charles Dickens. So if you're ever in Boston, don't miss Beacon Hill and the great park next to it called the Commons. All right? So
I get to say something now.
Yes, you do.
New Orleans
yes.
is a great foodie town.
And why is it European? Because
it takes into consideration Africa, Spain, and France, which creates Creole. It is, we just were there, and it is the Big Easy, and it's just so much fun to eat there. Now, the only thing we missed was the Carousel Bar, but we're going back before the year is up.
Well, I prefer the French and the Spanish influence. It was very difficult to get Africa into Europe, but I do like that. All right, the next one is, if you love Oktoberfest, you do not have to go to Germany. You do not have to go up the Rhine to do this. You can go to Fredericksburg, Texas. This is an area which in about 1846, Texas said, hey, we got this big place now, and we got nobody living here. And they invited anybody who came from Europe to get free land, so to speak. And Germans landed in Brownsville on the Gulf of Mexico, and they walked their way north to Fredericksburg and San Antonio. There's a very strong German population there, and they have great Oktoberfest in Fredericksburg, Texas.
Now I get to talk about San Francisco. This is a great foodie town. They're very liberal in their politics, and they're very artistic. But they have the Buena Vista down by the wharf, and I remember going there umpteen years ago, and this fellow had a duck on his arm, and he was the duck. I couldn't believe there was a duck in the place, but it was obviously a puppet. No, not so obviously. I was fooled, or maybe I was just drunk. Anyway, they also have the best Chinatown in the, well, other than China, and North Beach is their Italian section, and I remember getting a platter of food like this. Oh my God, the food was so incredible. Got to go to San Francisco if you want to eat.
Yeah, there's two things that first of all, do you realize that in the 1800s especially, San Francisco was known as the Paris of the West? You realize there are Parises all over the place. There's Bucharest, and Romania was the Paris of the East, okay?
Argentina was the Paris
of... Buenos Aires was the Paris of South America. But San Francisco was the Paris of the West, and that's because it was sophisticated. And it had that little Spanish influence in the beginning that's not so much now, except in the wine country.
And where else are we going to go?
The last place, of course, is close to where we are now, and I don't think I've ever been it. Venice, California. And why that? Because it looks like Venice, Italy. They have canals, okay? They shut off the streets and make it pedestrian friendly. So if you want, they purposely made these canals so they could remind people of Venice, Italy, without the smell, without the dead fish. It's really good. So if you get a chance and you want to just enjoy the water, enjoy all these little walkways, go to Venice, California for our last European experience. I don't have it down here, but do not forget, it's not America, so I didn't include it in this, but remember Quebec and Montreal. If you want to have that French experience, I just suggest don't go in the wintertime, okay? It's a place to go in the summer, but Quebec is a great French-style city.
I'm about to walk on water.
Oh, my God.
Do you realize that only 20% of the entire population cruises? Now, if you're a cruiser, you wonder if that's true because there's so many people that go. But once they go over and over and over. However, there's a lot of questions that I get about cruising and why people should cruise, and I'm too scared to cruise, and I'm going to be sick on a cruise. Let me answer 7 of these topical questions for you. Cruising prices vary. It's a matter of supply and demand. If you're going to go the week between Christmas and New Year's, you are going to pay an arm and a leg. Whenever the children are out, it's going to cost you more. That week in June, right after school lets out, oh my God, everybody wants to go. Why can't they wait till the first week of July? I don't know. Anyway, early booking means lower prices and you get better situations of where your room's going to be. The best place, of course, is midship. The higher you go, midship is the better. So you want to have that choice. But the later you go, the less you get to pick where you're going to be.
Can I interject one thing about that?
Certainly. Can I stop you?
I like a cabin on a ship that's about 3/4 of the way up, okay? And then I love it to be close to the elevators.
Of course, yes.
Why? Because when all the bars empty out and the drunks come out of the elevators to try to find their rooms, it's so much fun to watch them knock on wrong doors. I mean, it really is.
Ladies, if you forget your handkerchief or your lipstick and you're all the way 3 blocks down the hall getting to the elevator and you've got to go back, it's just easier if you're closer to the elevators. And the third thing, cruising is an investment. Sometimes they're very, very expensive. Insure it.
I don't understand why people say, oh, I don't need to insure it. Well, I mean, if you're spending $5,000, $6,000 the minimum, maybe some as much as $10,000, a couple $100 to say that in case what? You break your leg. What about the cruise? The poor guy we went on, they had waited 20 years to go on a cruise. Oh, I really felt bad about it. They didn't get insurance. They had to go. The man had to go even though he had kidney stones. The whole week on the cruise, he was in his cabin medicated, and his wife had to drink alone. We helped her. But I mean, but the fact of the matter is, there's a guy, if he'd had insurance, they could have simply canceled the cruise and gone later in the year when he was better.
Now, number 4, this is a very important one, and this is, I have to stress this because it's happened to us. Do not fly the same day of the cruise. Number 1, you want to be getting on the cruise by noon. You're paying for that day. You might as well be on the ship having fun. However, we once went the day of, there was a storm, the airport closed down, so we had to give up the money we spent on that airline, go to another airline, pay $900, and be same-day flyers, which meant that we were obviously terrorists and had to be frisked and everything.
Well, that was part of the fun.
But, you know, I do say go in the day before, stay in a hotel, make that the start of your vacation, get to that ship by 11 o'clock in the morning, get on that ship. Oh, there's another thing. I said 7. There's another thing. If you can, get the early boarding. Some cruise lines like Carnival let you pay extra and get early boarding, which is even earlier than the rest of the people get on.
Because you're going to get lunch, you've already paid for it, and the bars are open immediately.
Yes, and if you're going to take a spa, why pay $150 for your spa? While you're in port, the people in the spa have nothing to do, so they reduce the prices. That's when you get your spa massage.
So what you really should do then is look at where the ports are, and you're going to say, well, I'd love to go to see Nassau, but I'm not going to go surfing at St. Thomas or something like that. So, hey, I'm not getting off the ship. That's the day to do your spa.
The biggest question that I get is, why did I see it in the newspaper for $299 and you're charging me $465? That is because the cruise lines advertise the base price. They don't include the taxes. They don't include the port charges. They don't include the gratuities. You have to watch out your folio through the week. You might visit the purser every once in a while because every drink you have, and you are allowed to ask for a glass of water instead of a drink. Now, that wouldn't be me, but this is important. We're not trying to gouge you. We give you the same price that the cruise lines give us.
Yeah, you got to realize when you see those ads, oh, take a 7-day cruise from is the big word that's real small, from $450. By the time you're off the phone, you're up to $750, and if you want an actual window, it might be $1,000. So it's always the base rate that's advertised.
And number 7, as far as eating goes, everybody goes up to the Lido deck and they get their toast, they toast it, it's frozen and cold by the time they get to their seat. They get an egg, they get this,
You're
they
talking
get
about
that.
the buffet.
The buffet. Well, the Lido deck is the buffet. Anyway.
But not everybody knows that.
I know, but they don't know that they can go to the dining room in their shorts and they can have breakfast on linen cloth tables with waiters serving you. You can have breakfast and lunch in the dining room and be treated like a queen.
And remember, at our age, 90% of the children on the cruise ship are at the buffet.
And the final, please use a travel agent. 90% of travel agents will service you for free. We will. The thing is that there is no objectivity when you go to the computer and book a cruise. You don't know. You might say, oh, I don't want one with a bunch of children, or I do want one with all types of activities. We can maneuver through the minutia and get you to the absolute ship that you want. You say, this is how much money I've got to spend. We'll get you to that ship. And there is my report on cruising.
I'm overwhelmed.
I'm glad.
I think it's wonderful. I think the internet has not gotten people to think about things anymore. They just push those little buttons and they wonder, okay. And like everything else, not all cabins look as good on the ship as they are in the picture there.
In reality.
All right, Sam, I'm going to turn the tone a little bit right now because I have a travel rant.
Oh!
As we finish up the election, everybody is talking about the need to spend money on our infrastructure. I don't care if it's the Republicans, the Democrats, the winners or the losers. We need to spend money on infrastructure. I'm here to talk about the fact that we need to make sure that infrastructure includes improving our passenger train service in this country. Why? My God, I'm living in Vegas. Over 400,000 people come here in a year. You can't take a train to Vegas. My God, I got to go to Kingman. Who wants to go to Kingman? Okay, to get a train and then take a bus up here? Come on. That's one. The other thing is, oh, you can't. Planes are quicker than a train. Oh, my God, the trains take so long. Look, when you add parking 2 hours ahead of time for somebody to frisk you and your plane, and then get on the plane, and then delays and so forth, I tell you, when we lived in Virginia, and we would go by train from downtown D.C. to downtown New York, and they say, oh, I can fly up there in 40 minutes. Oh, sure you can. 2 hours to get into the plane, then where do they dump you off? At JFK? And you have an hour ride into the city? I'm getting out of 30th Street. I walk across to a cab. In 5 minutes, I'm in a hotel, or better yet, an Irish pub. And that's the way it is in these other places. So don't tell me that planes are quicker. Now, in 1970, the federal government created Amtrak. That was the same year that France put in their first high-speed train. My God, the French have been doing it for 30 years. Isn't that embarrassing? And we have no decent high-speed trains. Oh, we got a high-speed train from Washington to New York, but it has to stop in every state. We want to make sure Joe Biden's gets the train in Wilmington, Delaware. The word is express. Who stops in Wilmington, Delaware? I used to live there. I didn't even stop there. Okay? People are complaining, my God, they want to spend they spend $30 billion on Amtrak for the last 30 years, and it doesn't work. Guess what? The airlines and the highways are not paying their own way. We spent $1.8 trillion to keep the airports going. I'm telling you, go to a website, okay? First of all, we're spending about as much money as Bolivia on our trains, okay? So come on, all right? Let's get to it here, all right? Go to High Speed Railroad's website. Find out what it could be, what we could have in the United States. I'm just so livid about this. Make sure your senator and your representative understand infrastructure must include the rail service, passenger rail service. All right, Sam, I'm done ranting. Now, where the hell was last year's question? Tell us, who won?
Oh, Kathy Taylor won. And she won because she knew where, what is it?
The Rock of Gibraltar.
Oh, it was my question. I should know. The Rock of Gibraltar.
And it's in?
It's in Spain.
It's in Spain. And you know what's wonderful about the Rock of Gibraltar?
In Spain.
They have monkeys.
In the plane.
There are 230 monkeys living on top of that rock. It's the only reason to go there. Let's have the monkeys throw things at you. But anyway, the Spanish still want it back. The British own it. They will not give it back.
I get the question this week, and we know you're out there, Barb. We know you're listening. Where was the tango invented? Olé!
Yes, the real tango, okay? And remember, the first one who emails us the correct answer wins. And the email is down there at the bottom. Those of you with eyesight can read that, okay? So make sure you email us with the correct answer. Where was the tango invented?
Well, it's time for our happy hour hunt. And this time, we live on the east, so most of the things we talk about are on the east. But this time, we're going west, young man.
And since we postponed our show because of the Thanksgiving holiday, we're going to have our next show quickly on December 7th. Okay, so look for us on December 7th for our next show. And in the meantime,
thank you for watching Travel, Eat, and Learn. I'm Sam Shockley.
And I'm Patrick Barney. See you next time.